Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Katrina, Ness, Vanessa Collins, and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings, Vanessa Collins, and Katrina Ness.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable's After Dark show. Tonight's guest is Jay from Wrenchway, which is really exciting because Jay is a founding member and spoke at our very first Fixed Ops Roundtable in New York City in May of 2019. And we also have Shon Kingrey, who is with us today to provide the dealership's perspective.
Welcome, everybody.
Vanessa, this is the Wisconsin connection tonight. So.
The Wisconsin connections.
It's great to be here tonight. I really appreciate you having us.
We appreciate
Jay,
you.
welcome. Good to have you back, Jay. Good to have you on the roundtable. And Shon, great friend in Jay Goninen, and we all met in your office in Wisconsin. It seems like just a few months ago.
Yeah, during the pop-up. It was pop-up number 3, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It was Ed, then Orlando, then our store. And yeah, Jay sat. First time I'd ever met Jay was in my office. Correct.
Wow. All right. So, Katrina, we're going to find out a lot about Jay Goninen, about what he's doing at Wrenchway, all about Wrenchway. And we got some friends coming in. Trevor Shannon, good evening from Dynatron Software. Shon, I don't know if you know Trevor.
I've never met Trevor. I know Donatron, obviously, but I don't know Trevor.
So Katrina, Les Silver of Dynatron, okay, who's a very frequent guest here on the roundtable, has a dynamic product manager, Trevor Shannon. I hope I got the title right, Trevor. And he's going to be on the show coming up in March on a Monday night. And I think it's the second Monday of the month. So looking forward to having you on here and learning a lot as well. By the way, Vanessa, I'm enjoying the content. You got a lot of stuff coming from the 90s, I see. And so, Vanessa, who drove to the Saginaw, to the selfie shop, you or Katrina?
Yeah, so I drove. Katrina had the maps, and she was helping with directions. And it was really awesome. We went to the selfie shop in Saginaw. It was only less than 30 minutes away from our college. And it was so fun. We spent a total of, I want to say, like 2.5 hours there, and we knocked out a bunch of super fun content. There was amazing backdrops, great lighting, and overall just good vibes. So me and Katrina were definitely creative in that space, and we're able to create some fun content.
So, Jay, this stuff is looking pretty good. Jay, when you came out to that very first roundtable that Vanessa mentioned earlier, and then you came to the second one. First one was in New York City. Second was on the West Coast, right in Los Angeles. And then we went back to the East Coast later that year for the third one. We had not even thought, Jay, about doing themes for these events. And that happened after we went virtual. And just to kind of keep it different, Jay. And now the themes have kind of taken on a life of their own. So
what I love about, obviously COVID presented a bunch of different challenges. But when you look back at where the whole event has come from in having the physical get-togethers to now the virtual element, I think it makes it so much easier for the community to get together, and it's not so foreign to get on a Zoom meeting or on any type of virtual meeting. And at some level, I think we learned a lot through that process, that you don't have to be so separated all the time, that you can get together. And especially something like this, so many like-minded people getting together, talking about something that's very near and dear to our hearts, which is this fixed ops world. And that first New York City one, I'll never forget that. It was just the craziest thing, being in that high rise in that kind of small room, right? Like we had a small conference room, and it probably wasn't even that small. There was just a lot of people there. And so we packed everybody in there, had just a great time, great conversations, still have friends from that very first meeting in New York City. And so huge testament to you to have the vision to be able to come up with that. And I do remember getting a call from you saying, "Hey, would you want to come to New York City?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? Let's do it."
Yeah. So what happened? And by the way, Jay is big in the virtual world as well, as you're going to learn tonight. He's got a lot of events as well going on. We'll talk about that. But Katrina, the very first Fixed Ops Roundtable, I called Jay up and I said, would you come to New York to speak at our very first one? And at the time it was Find a Wrench, right, Jay?
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. It was Find a Wrench at the time.
And here's a short video of Jay in that conference room speaking 5 years ago this May.
I help find dealerships, technicians all over the country. I think your point was you want to do something that's different, right? And that is different than what other dealerships are doing. What I'm proposing today, or what I'm hoping that you guys take back with you, is something that's not all that sexy, but it's an actual plan, putting together a plan, a staffing plan. And what we see with the dealerships we work with all over the country, and independent repair shops, whoever it is, we have a lot of people that pay lip service to it, right? Hey, we can't find techs, man. It's really hard to find techs, and everybody's that way.
Looks like right after lunch, Jay.
Less gray hair then too. It's kind of a blast from the past, but it is funny because everything I said there still applies, right? There's a lot of sayers, not a lot of doers, and I think that's a lot of the reason we find ourselves in the position we do today is because as an industry, we did sit back and we were comfortable, and honestly, it was just different, right? Like the whole world was different. There were far more people in the industry, or far less need 20, 30 years ago than there is tonight or today. And I think it's hard to adjust. It's hard to adapt when the market changes, when things change. And I did a podcast earlier today. I was on somebody's podcast today, and I said our industry got backed into a corner, right? And it made us change. It made us become better employers. It made us become better leaders in our dealerships. And in a way, it's really, really beneficial. Similar to what we talked about with the roundtable going more virtual focused, it made us get better. And I think we needed to in a lot of ways, and we're catching up. You're starting to hear the narrative from technicians shift. You know, a lot of it was, we're not getting paid enough. We feel like we should get paid more. And there's still that narrative out there. There's still a lot of technicians talking about how they need to get paid more, but you are starting to maybe see that little shift that we've been hunting for a long time. So everything I said back then, I think still applies today, but we're starting to make ground, right? I don't think I could say that back when we shot that video.
No. Shon Kingrey, what's your perspective being in the dealership, overseeing that 8 dealership group in Wisconsin and nearby to Jay, might I add?
Well, I think it's, what Jay says couldn't be any closer to the truth. I'm going to compare the car business to Blockbuster, and where the car business, and some of us did a better job than others, okay? Where if you don't change with the times, where we weren't growing our own, by the way, we were certifying everybody that we could. They weren't going anywhere. They weren't leaving. We didn't understand that probably by the age 50, their backs and arms and legs and everything are giving out, and we weren't ready for that. We weren't changing with the times. And with that, we became a little bit like Blockbuster, and you lost that business because you didn't have enough. And here we are, knee-jerk reaction. I know we're going to get into the conversation, and I know Ed does a great job of it, probably the best I've ever heard, of growing your own. If you're not growing your own, and where Jay's specialty is, and Jay, like I said, we got to spend some time together in my office at the third pop-up event with Ted, is, guys, it's in the schools, and the schools are a grind. We had a Ford rep in our office, and I'm going to go down a trail here. We had a Ford rep in our office the other day. Some of the people in the schools now, some over there because mommy and daddy want them to go to college. You got to go somewhere. Well, this looks like the easiest way to do it. I can fix my car. Some of the kids that are in college or in the college program or the high school program are there because they need their car to run for livelihood. All right. It's not a career for them. It's because they got to figure out how to make the car run to get back and forth to their work. And that's the struggle you're getting into. And where Ted and I and Jay spoke in my office was, it's very political now in the schools too, especially in the high schools. I go to UTI in Lisle, Illinois. Guys, there's a financial politics side to it that isn't fun to get involved in, by the way, because nobody wins that battle. Okay. They want financial backing that the student's not getting. Well, then who's gaining that? Really nobody. And Jay and Ted and I spoke about the biggest school we have here, guys. It's very financially motivated, and that's a high school. So it's kind of scary.
So Jay, I didn't realize this, but I'm going to turn the questions over to the Northwood students because they've got some questions they want to ask you. But I didn't realize this until maybe after a couple months we got into the After Dark show, that a lot of the stuff that we talk about here ends up getting discussed with the class at Northwood. Okay. And they've actually got the class involved in various things that they've been doing over the last few months, putting different business plans together. So I think it's kind of interesting. So ladies, Jay Goninen and Shon Kingrey, all yours. Go ahead and get some information tonight on what they do.
Of course. Yeah. Well, we go to an automotive university up at Northwood. It has a very automotive kind of specialization. So we do have a lot of knowledge, like Ted was saying, about the automotive industry and the business as a whole, which is great and part of the reason we're here. But to start, I would really just like a nice flat lay of concrete of what is Wrenchway. Give us all of the basics. Give us your spiel.
It's a great question. So to summarize it as I can, it's a job board for technicians, and really it's a two-sided platform, right? We have the job board side, which is really, when I say job board, it's almost like Zillow is the housing, right? What we're trying to do is allow a technician to come in and do their due diligence on a shop, understand why it's a different place to work than where they're already at. I mean, it is not an easy thing for a technician to change jobs, right? They have to load up their toolbox. We talked about how expensive toolboxes are and how big they are. They have to move those. It's not like a white collar worker where you just pick up your laptop and leave. You actually have to put some thought and effort into moving. So when they make that change, it is a huge, huge change for them. And so they need to do their research and understand why they're making that move in the first place. Why is the grass greener on the other side? And in a lot of cases, what we see is that there are technicians that they've gone to multiple shops and maybe they felt burned over the course of time at multiple shops, right? So they've had bad leaders at multiple different dealerships or shops. And when that happens, what we're finding is they're not leaving one shop to go to another anymore. They're just leaving the industry altogether. Mm-hmm. And that is really damaging to us. And I'll talk about the school side a little bit, but without shoring that up, and something I'm really passionate about, what I talk about a lot is how do we get our best and brightest to speak glowingly about this industry? Because right now, if you go to a Facebook group or you go to a Reddit group and really monitor what they're saying, a lot of it is not that nice, right? It's not like they're just shouting from a mountaintop how much they love this industry. And so for us, I think such a big piece of it is getting the right person in the right place so that they're actually happy, that they actually they know what they're signing up for. It's reflective of what they are reading in a job ad, right? But being able to really see the people that work in that dealership, being able to see the benefits and being able to see a bunch of different stuff. So there's the job board component. Then there's the school side. And the school side to me is so important. This is both at the high school and tech school level. We have something on our platform called School Connect. And basically what it is a part of our platform that allows schools to be able to go ask for stuff. And so if they need somebody to come speak to their class, or maybe they need a donation, and that could be monetary, that could be an equipment donation, that could be something as simple as shop towels. And it sounds really stupid, but when you're dealing with such a small budget, like these high schools are especially, they just don't have the budget. And when I was talking to a lot of educators, what I was finding out is they were paying for a lot of this out of their own pocket, right? And unfortunately, teachers just aren't paid that much. And so having to take that out of their own personal budget, $500 means a lot to them. And so being able to come to them and bring them resources has become really, really an important piece of our platform. And I think it's what we need. We need strong schools. We need schools with a backbone. There's a lot of these schools that maybe they're going to a school board meeting. I'm dealing with a school right now that's really worried about their program getting completely cut, their entire tech ed program, not just automotive. And so when we go into these dealerships or into these schools, and that the educators, the automotive teachers, the diesel teachers, collision teachers in these high schools have to go to a school board meeting to justify why they're a program and why they exist. They don't have the backbone that all of you with these gigantic dealerships have when you can walk into a school board meeting and command that presence because they drive past your dealership every single day. we need to step up. We need to be there for these schools so that we make them stronger, and that it really helps us bring more into our world, right? And obviously, we talk about the technician shortage all the time. I think at some level it's ad nauseum, right? Every trade publication you open up, every piece of content, we talk about it everywhere, including my company, right? Including Wrenchway. We talk about it all the time. But unless we start to fill our supply gap, we don't have enough people. We need to work on that. And that's what School Connect is all about.
Wow. And as a follow-up question, so I know you talked about School Connect, but how do you connect the schools, technicians, and dealers?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's kind of its own ecosystem, right? So from the dealership side, they have what we call Top Shops pages. And again, kind of going back to that Zillow analogy, it's really laying out all of the important things that a technician is looking for and they want answered. And in a lot of cases, that doesn't happen until after the interview process is done. Something as simple as, what is your policy on side work? I point at that question a lot because I think it's really important. If there's a, excuse me, a technician that has a very lucrative side business, they're doing a lot of side work, and your policy is a no side work allowed type of policy, it's just never going to be a fit. Like there's always going to be kind of this, either they're hiding from you or you're not wanting to ask the question. There's an elephant in the room. Our hope is that we address those elephant in the room types of questions. So technicians are able to really kind of do their due diligence from there. On top of that, so, and this is kind of the school to dealership world, is on School Connect. Basically, the schools just, when they're going out, it is as simple as they post what they're looking for. And then our community of shops goes and sees that. They're notified that there's a school in need of something. And then we try to drive that connection. So the funny part about School Connect, and this was the hardest part for us to learn and still learning, is that we built a really cool tool. We thought that would just take off like nobody's business, right? And so we built it. Our developers did a great job with it. And we moved back to the shop side trying to sell more Top Shops pages. What we found was that even though it was free, there were schools that were skeptical because it was free. And so as we're starting to get more and more of a reputation, Lisa Joseph, who runs our schools team, actually sent our team a message yesterday saying she got a message from a high school that said, listen, I saw your emails. I saw everything that you were sending. I thought it was maybe too good to be true, or I just didn't really believe it. And then they started hearing from their neighboring schools who were getting assistance through School Connect. And really, he came back and said, hey, can we schedule a call? We want to get on. So it was one of those things at first I think we thought would take off way faster than it actually did. It takes a lot more manual work on the backside from our end to be able to kind of hold hands, right? We're trying to get the schools to ask for the stuff. In some cases, the schools don't even know what to ask for, right? So we're working with them to understand what it is that they need, and then allowing the shops to see it, allowing the dealerships to see it, so that they have visibility to a program that's struggling, so we can step up and really try to help.
That's awesome. I'm curious, how many like schools around the area where you guys are in Wisconsin have, what would you call it, like a shop class or like a technical kind of class? Is it like schools or what? Because my high school did not have anything like this.
Nor did mine. We just had a general tech ed program. And that's one point that I'll make real quick, is that I think we largely ignore those schools that don't have automotive programs or aren't big enough, right? I come from a very rural community of 2,500 people. We were lucky to have a wood shop class. Yep. So being able to reach those students that might be interested but don't have access to our industry in a lot of cases is really, really important. In that scenario, I'm a huge believer in job shadows, and I'm a huge believer in apprenticeship programs and trying to get that younger generation in so they actually understand what it's all about. And honestly, if they come in and they do a job shadow and they figure out that they don't like it, that might be really good too, because then they're not going to go waste a bunch of money on school and tools that they don't need. So I think, that piece is really, really important. We're actually dealing in Dane County, Wisconsin, which is where Shon's at, with a really big issue right now where they're trying to basically take down the second year apprenticeship program, which would be high school seniors, right? And the reason for it is because it's expensive, and they're sending the kids to the local tech school, MATC, and right now there's only 6 students in that second year apprenticeship program, and that's at a cost of $3,000 to this program, right? So that's why they're considering shutting it off, is because there's just not enough interest in it. So as I've really started to work with the district, it really started to understand. In Dane County, there's a Dane County School Consortium that I work with. And what we're really starting to understand is that's one of the big issues, is that you do have these huge metropolitan schools that have the big automotive programs, but then 10 miles down the road, you've got a small rural program that doesn't have anything. So it's really trying to find something that fits. There's not a cookie cutter approach to this. It really is different. That's a really, really good question, because they're all shapes and sizes.
Yeah. Another question is, why is it, Shon, you can butt in on this from a dealership perspective, but why is it difficult for dealers to find technicians? And Trevor touched on this a little bit earlier too, on his opinion, but I'm curious what you guys think.
Listen, on the dealership side, it's and again, somebody made the comment earlier. Listen, technician work isn't sexy work anymore. It's just not. Now, that's our fault partially, because it's not as mechanical as it used to be. It's highly electronic, obviously, and obviously whether EVs come or go, because they don't do well in Wisconsin, by the way. But whether they come and go, it's so much more electronic than it was mechanical. Yes, you're still rebuilding engines and transmissions and stuff, but realistically, you're putting units in now, guys. Very rare are you dropping pistons and things anymore. You're just not. So we lost the appeal side of it. And as someone made the comment earlier, I think you just referred to it, that I don't think anybody realizes that the amount of money a good technician can make. I mean, everybody knows I came from Florida. Guys, out of 20 stores, I had 20 technicians that made more than 150 grand a year. I had technicians that made 200 grand a year. Now, are they working? Yeah, they're working. They're working their butts off. But at the same token, you can provide a pretty good income for your family at 200 grand a year and just be dedicated to work. But to answer your question, why are they not? It's because it's not sexy. It's not sexy work. We don't make it sexy. We don't welcome them. We don't treat them right. They're behind the wall. I mean, we have more panels through the round table, and we can shake a stick out. What we do wrong to not treat the technician right.
What I would add to that is something we're working on right now. And we feel at Wrenchway that our job is to educate the industry a little bit on, and not just the industry, everybody outside of the industry as well. One of the things that we found was that the Bureau of Labor Statistics was wildly off on salary data. And so we're working right now on putting together a technician pay survey. I think we're at about 3,000 techs that have responded. What we're seeing out of the data already is that it is wildly off, right? And I think they say it's, the median is about $45,000 a year for an experienced technician, and that's off. I mean, we talk to Shon's point, we talk to technicians all day, every day that are making 6 figures. And so we wanted to arm the industry with better information, and especially those educators, because if they're talking to parents, they're talking to the students themselves, and we don't want them to sell something that's not accurate, right? We don't want them to sell, there's been a lot of kids that come into this industry that they think they're going to make 100 grand right off the bat. And that's not the case. And that's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to do is give good, accurate information, good, accurate data to those young people to make an educated decision. Because if I look at it and I'm a parent and I see that the median wage is $45,000 a year, and they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars in tools just to even be able to do their job, you're starting to look at the ROI on that. And, if I was a parent just making a judgment based on those numbers, probably wouldn't tell my kid to go into it.
And the schooling wasn't free either.
No.
Yeah. Touching back to one of Trevor's comments yet again, and what Shon said, it's not sexy. It's more technical and electronic now, and that's due to the way our industry is pulling. And I really like this comment because I think that there's a little bit of a miscommunication or like a thought process that because you're like tech savvy and like good with electronics, you sit behind a desk in an office and whatnot, like Trevor is saying like this, but I'm the one that's fixing my mom's phone when she can't figure out how to do this, and this. And, that is our generation with technology. and that's the way the industry is going. So I like the point where it kind of fits with it, but I don't think there's much knowledge behind that yet.
Well, and we as an industry, we need to show that off too, right? We need to be appealing to that young person. And honestly, it's a different demographic growing up than what we were used to several years ago that really can do this stuff. And, I think I had a industry friend of mine that said he tries to relate. He goes and talks to 8th graders and he says, the way I relate with them is I say, it's very similar to a video game. There's a lot of, if you like problem solving, this is problem solving. If you like technology, this is technology, and really tries to meet them where they're at to try and get them interested in what we're doing.
Totally. And I think that's a great approach to take to it as well.
Yeah. Jay, we do have one more question for you. So we talked in the green room about how the company used to be called, or originally was called, Find a Wrench, which is a great name, but I'm just curious on why it was changed to Wrenchway.
It's a great question, and something that both Shon and Ted brought to my attention that we didn't do a great job at explaining the change in general. So Find a Wrench, when I started it, was in 2017, started off as a primarily recruiting firm focused on technicians. And that company grew, honestly, faster than I would have anticipated. It really, really grew fast. And I thought we did a really good job with branding with it and grew the company to a point to where it was very noticeable throughout the industry. What we found was that we weren't really solving the problem, right? We were kind of putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole in that we were robbing Peter to pay Paul. We were going to your neighboring dealership to take a technician, and then that neighboring dealership was taking a technician from the other dealership, and then that dealership was taking a technician from you. And so ultimately, we wanted to go back to the drawing board, come up with a way that we could help grow the industry. Our mission statement with Wrenchway is to promote and improve technician careers, and it's because we need more people in the industry. We need to keep the ones that are already here as well. So really, I think foundationally, when we made that shift, it was a really hard decision to go from that recruiting side to more of a job board / school side. And it was a good, profitable company that we shut down in 2021 and really just shifted everything over to Wrenchway. And the whole point was we didn't want to cause confusion to our clients that you had a recruiting arm of this company, right? So rather than trying to sell the company or do something different with it, we decided just to sunset it and put all of our eggs in the Wrenchway basket. And honestly, for me, there's still a need for recruiting, right? And we're not recruiters, but we feel like we're attacking the core of the issue now and that we're making a really, really big impact on the industry. So that's been something that has been really, really rewarding to me in that shift.
Wow.
Awesome.
I was gonna ask a pop quiz to the audience, to everybody who's in the chat tonight. You've got some social media influencers on here, no less than Shon Kingrey, Katrina Ness, and Vanessa Collins with Jay Goninen. But pop quiz, everybody. Who here tonight on the panel, the 5 of us, has the biggest following on TikTok for either themselves or their company? Does anybody know? And what would that following be? Because we're always talking about TikTok, right? And saying, that's where the action's been happening the last couple of years. And if anybody knows the answer, you could probably fact check me on this, and you could do a little research on TikTok right now. But Jay, Jay, it's you, okay, and it's Wrenchway. And
yes, I know who it's not.
Same.
And Tony Owen's definitely not me, okay. But Robert Migliaccio, yeah, there we go. Wrenchway, wow. 200,000 followers, and Katrina, the hashtag, the big hashtags on TikTok are automotive technician. Jay, I think that hashtag has got, I don't know what the number is, but it's huge. It's in the stratosphere.
It is. Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of technicians out there making great content. I don't know that we're at the 200,000. I don't know, Robert, I can't recall what we're actually at, but we have our marketing team that does a phenomenal job with it. They ask me constantly to be on TikToks, and I am very hesitant. So it's funny. Val on our team does a phenomenal job with it, has really grown our audience, and we've had some really good viral videos. the one thing, TikTok makes zero sense to me. We'll put a video out and you're like, that one's going to be huge. And then nobody watches it. And then you put one out that's like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden that one blows up. So I have no idea what the algorithm or why it grows the way it does, but all credit goes to our marketing team because they're the ones that are the masters of that.
That's awesome.
think,
TikTok is such a good platform.
And Robert Miggs is not far behind too. So
yeah, I'm sure Miggs has got quite the following. Let's be honest.
Oh wow.
Owen Moon's got a comment here.
Oh man, there's Owen with the Packers dig. You knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming. Only from Owen, by the way.
Good to see you, Owen.
All right, Robert's going to fact check us. 36,400 followers. So
nice. All right. Thanks,
Jay,
Robert.
pretty good. Still pretty good. Okay.
Yeah. I kind of figured we weren't at the 200K, but the 36 sounds a little bit more in line.
That's awesome.
Okay. So great job. Everybody, if you want to learn more about Wrenchway, you can visit them at wrenchway.com. Jay Goninen is the co-founder, president of that company as well. Jay, mentioning virtual events, you do virtual events. I see them all the time. I get invited to them. I don't know if you have one coming up anytime soon, but tell us, if you don't mind, just a little bit about those.
Yeah, typically we do, the way our schedule works is we'll do one kind of educational webinar per month. So we've got one coming up on the technician pay survey that we're just going to do a deep dive into what we learned out of the survey. That should be a really good one. We did one a couple months ago on our Voice of Technician survey that went really, really well. We did one in January that was more around recruiting technicians in current day shops. So each month we're coming out with some form of educational content. And then once a year we do our Tech Mission event, which is all about how we get the industry at a better place and really just good conversations. I think anytime you can get a bunch of smart people in a room and talk like you've done, Ted, brilliantly, I think there's so much value in that.
And Jay, I see a lot of our friends who've been with us at all these Fixed Ops roundtables on tonight, no less than Owen Moon, who's been with us, since that very first one that we did out in Los Angeles, that you spoke and that Tully spoke. And, so Owen, appreciate your friendship and all that you do as well for the industry.
That's where I met Owen at, by the way, was Los Angeles, at Beverly Hills, I think, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I remember him speaking there, and he came back again and again and again. And a lot of success to Owen Moon and what was Fixed Ops Digital and now is a part of the trade pending brand. Okay, if I may. Jay, we've got a big show coming up. I know you just spoke of the one a couple weeks back, but we've got one coming up. Vanessa, it's a couple of months out, but it's going to be here before we know it.
Yes. So our next event is the 90s Rewind, and it is happening in May 13th through the 16th. It's 4 days, all virtual online, and you can get your complimentary tickets right now at fixedopsroundtable.com. So make sure to secure your seat and stay tuned to all of our social medias as me and Katrina are filming and pushing out a ton of fun content.
Yeah, so there's some wardrobe stuff coming up with this one, Katrina, I understand, right? There's not required, but encouraged.
Oh, yeah. You should come dressed up. Vanessa and I will be dressed up. It'll be a 90s party.
Jay, we got to bring you back dressed up. And I know Shon Kingrey's not going to hesitate to that. So,
I would just need advice on how to dress up. I'm the worst at Halloween. I'm the worst at dressing up in general. So if anybody's got any good advice for me, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I will take the lead and send you some Amazon links. I promise.
There we go, Shon.
Yeah, I got that one.
Much appreciated.
Juliet and I have a group chat. I promise you. We'll add you to the group chat.
I don't know if I can handle you and Tully in the same group chat.
It's a lot of fun.
Everybody, on behalf of Katrina and Vanessa, Jay Goninen at Wrenchway and Shon Kingrey at Kayser Automotive Group, I'm Ted Ings. Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll be back next Monday for more at the After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Great to see everybody.